I think it's really in the best interest of Acadia to accommodate student parents. We're a growing demographic and actually a bigger demographic than most people would realize. Although there's no statistics for Acadia specifically, we represent between 11 and 16% of the student population.
Student parents bring diversity into perspective. They also tend to be from diverse racial and ethnic backgrounds, more so than the average student, and this compounds the diversity of perspective. They're often excellent role models for other students because they tend to work hard and take their education seriously. They're likely to reflect well in academic institutions, with a 3.5 and above GPA average. They also potentially bring the next generation of students for that institution if their kids want to follow in their parents' footsteps.
We add a richness of experience. Usually we have at least the experience of parenting and interacting with the community and the world in a different way than the average student does. Often we have work experience, and many students don't have that. And just experience with hardship a lot of the time, especially for single parents. Knowing the way that systems and the world works and being able to apply that to our studies and to the theory that we're learning in a way that really enriches the classroom environment for everybody and deepens the discussions.
As soon as I wake up, I have to wake the kids up because even with the alarm set, they don't wake up. Just to even get him up and to take his medicine and eat his breakfast, and then I have to do lunches, and then to make sure I have everything.
My kids got up earlier than I expected, so when I was trying to get things done, they got up, so then they had to be fed. They had to, of course, be all situated. While I'm doing all that, the dog's peeing on the floor. I sit down for literally 2 seconds. I need to get up because there's spilled juice. Then I sit down for another 2 seconds. I have to get up because someone's at the door. So that's a typical life.
And then I'm just hop in the car, and especially with morning classes, I found this year particularly difficult because I've had 8:30 classes, which were mandatory classes, so there's no choice in the matter. So. The mental energy that it just takes to do schoolwork without children and then add on the extra responsibilities is just overwhelming.
We have little in common with the average student, and there's no time outside of class to hang out or attend events. It can be very isolating.
On one hand, like the growing and self-growth has been great, but the most frustrating thing about being a student parent is that there's always that fight within myself, that never-ending battle, and never reaching full potential in anything because you have to, split yourself so much. I feel like I have to be strong all the time, even when I'm not.
Overall, I feel like I'm kind of invisible and I'm not really accounted for when people are creating projects or guidelines for their courses, or when they're creating events for other students. They're not thinking about people who need to get childcare. They're not thinking about how much notice people need to schedule things, or the fact that people really need to use their time effectively when they have kids.
There is nowhere to pump breast milk on campus. There are few change tables and bathrooms, and administration has been less than helpful in answering student inquiries.
One of the biggest things is just recognition that we exist. This university has a reputation for being for a specific demographic, usually younger, often male, white. Whether that's intentional or not, that's kind of the perspective most people have, and also financially well off. And I think that perception needs to be corrected. That can still be a major demographic that attends here. There's nothing wrong with being in that demographic, but we exist as student parents.
I just don't feel that bonding to a lot of the classmates.
Sense of welcome is really missing for me when I try to bring my children on campus. There's nowhere where I feel like they're not disturbing someone or causing a mess, or where they even can find a place that's comfortable to sit and relax while I do something.
Stigma is often unspoken. There's also sometimes judgment about how present you are for your kids if you're juggling school.
People see me a lot and I'm in a book or just have a notebook and I'm scribbling down ideas at the rink. A lot of people think I'm just kind of in La La Land or something when I'm really doing schoolwork.
One of the misconceptions is that we might be lazy. I've had profs call me out over email assuming that I don't have what it takes for university because I'm a parent. And I've had people think that I shouldn't be here and ask if I ever see my children.
I feel I have grown as a person and opened up my worldview, which I share with my children. So I think that's really important and for them to see me learning and growing and changing, I think that's good. I have been lucky enough to be able to bring my kids to a lot of my classes. The profs let me bring my kids almost every day to school. And so they really are thinking about their future, even though they're only in grade 7 and 6. They're thinking about their university. And last year I brought my son to chemistry class, and he is obsessed with organic chemistry now. Like, it's changed his life.
I'm a role model for my children around working hard and lifelong learning. They see the passion I have for my studies and the topics it involves. I have more flexibility in many ways than I otherwise would as a working parent with a 9-to-5 job. It's easier to take time off to be with my kids when they're sick or take them to class if necessary than it would be to miss work and lose a day's pay.
When my kids see me win awards and scholarships that I've worked very hard for, they get this proud look in their eyes, and that feels incredible.
Spaces on campus, whether that's a change table in a washroom or some area of the library where you know you can go with your children. And it's for everybody, including professors and staff.
Yeah, like, even if they could be some activities that, hey, bring your kids if you have them. Or for me personally, I just wish I could feel more comfortable talking to certain profs, like that we're just acknowledged in general that, some people have kids.
And I guess in terms of flexibility and accommodation, so my professors have been pretty flexible, but because there's powers that be above them that ask them why I have missed this class or that class, because there's a minimum or a maximum that you can miss. But because I'm a parent and I have either the kids are home from school or because they have medical appointments, I miss usually quite a few classes. So that kind of flexibility that has been extended to me, I wish that the higher ups would be willing to extend.
There's also things like family housing, even if you just have one unit of it, or just somebody that maybe has a joint position between the ASU and staff pay, where they are able to help people navigate so that they know, where can I find housing, where can I find childcare, how can I fill out these loan forms with the complicated aspects of being a student parent or having a partner or having a job as well or going part-time.
It'd be great to be able to have the option of committing to a room on Acadia for 1 or 2 nights a week so that I could stay there instead of being a burden to friends or family. And then I could have my own space and I could use that time to study and just kind of unwind. There's residence, but I really can't live away from my family.
Really seriously looking into the childcare situation for everyone who needs childcare here. It's a big step, but we can make inroads towards that. Plenty of other campuses have it, and it can actually be an economic boon to the university, not to mention something that attracts more families. More of us would probably come here and make this institution look great if we felt recognized in recruitment material, if we felt like we were acknowledged by our professors. There was just the tiniest bit of accommodation around someone who needs to pump or someone who needs an extension by 1 day because their child was sick all night. It's a social justice issue. Like, people are going through really difficult things, juggling their family and their time and their studies and trying to do the best they can at all of those things with almost no resources, especially from the school itself. Just like any other group that's marginalized or doesn't have a voice of their own, these very busy people who are striving, they really need others to help champion this cause for things like childcare, for things like child-friendly spaces, Little things can make a big difference. Hopefully, that is something that becomes important to more than just the student parents themselves, but to the administration, to other students, to recruitment.
People always ask, not so much do you regret it, but if you could go back and change everything. And I don't, because I wouldn't be the person that I am now.
This is actually a really positive thing, and it doesn't have to be a sad story about people who don't have enough support. It can be about triumph over difficulties. We all have in common that we have children, and we need to feel welcomed and recognized in this institution.